Welcome to another video tutorial. In this video, we're going to take a look at the auto tile mechanic in RPG in a Box. I'm going to show you where the auto tile mechanic can be found. I'll then show you how to make the individual tiles that make up a tile set, which is what the auto tile system uses. And then I'll talk you through how you actually then set up a tile set using those tiles, and then show you how you then use the tile set once you've got one made. And then lastly, we'll talk about some other examples of things you can do with tile sets. So first of all, where is the auto? First of all, what is auto tiles? Auto tiles basically are a really cool way of basically painting essentially different terrain, textures and heights and things in your maps. So normally when you're creating a map, you might, place grass like this, and then you might decide, oh, actually I want some, dirt down here or something. But then you've got to think, oh, actually I want, a verge or something. So then you create a tile that sort of blends the two together, something like that. So it comes like a sort of manual process, whereas auto tiles allows you to basically create a set of tiles that will blend, in this case, grass and dirt together seamlessly. And then at any point you can paint dirt or you can paint grass, and it will blend the two together, creating, for example, nice pathways that sort of blend into one another. So I'll show you, as I say, a few examples in this video of a couple of examples of tile sets that you could possibly think about creating. Obviously, you can create whatever tile sets you want, but it's just to give you an idea of what you can do with the tiles, auto tile mechanic. So let's get rid of that. So where is the auto tile mechanic found? It's in the map editor, so you have to be in the map editor part of the RPG in a Box software, and it's in the options along the top. It's this button here where it says, if you hover over it, it says create auto tiles. It's in between the capture image file button and the settings button. Okay, so you click this and this will bring up the create auto tiles window, and this is the auto tile editor. Okay, now what you'll see when you are met with this is two large 3x3 grids and two single tile grids in the middle. Okay, and these two 3x3 grids have two shades in them. One's a slightly darker shade on the outside, and then there's a lighter shade on the inside. And then this one is the opposite. The lighter shade is on the outside and the darker shade is on the inside. Okay, and you can see that same shade is repeated on the inner tiles, except the lighter shade is diagonal in one direction and then diagonal in the other. Okay, and this is a clue as to how you should make your individual tiles for your tile set. So to give you an example, I'm going to create a tile set. I've already created the tiles, so it doesn't take me too long to sit and make them all. I don't think you need to watch me actually make them, but I will show you how I made them just to give you an idea. But essentially what I'm going to create first of all is a dirt path tile system. So we'll have dirt and we'll have grass, and you can switch between the two, and depending on what you paint, it will either create a path or it will fill a path in. So the first thing we want to decide is which one of these sides should have which. Is this the grass side or is this the dirt side? Okay, so for this particular example, this pale lighter green is going to be dirt. So every bit of these tiles that has light green is going to be dirt. Everything that's the darker green, if it even is green, it looks white grey to me, but the darker shade, that's going to be grass. Okay, so this is grass, this is dirt. These two diagonal cubes here are going to be dirt. This is grass, this is dirt. this outer edge is going to be dirt, and the inner squares are going to be grass. Okay, so because we know that these two squares here are going to be completely dirt and completely grass. So if we click this square here, it brings up a resource picker to select a resource, and this is basically a list of all your tiles. And I'm going to place dirt. I'm going to click the top option here that says dirt and click OK. And that places a visual representation of that tile in on that square. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, except I'm going to click this square, and this is going to be grass. Click OK. Okay. I'm going to cancel that. Now, at the moment, as of version, don't want to cancel, as of version 108.6, there's a issue with the auto tile editor where when you close it and open it again, it remembers your last things you did, which is fine when you're editing it, because it's actually quite handy because it saves what we've done. We can come back to it in stages as we sort of slowly build up the tiles. But the problem is when we've finished and we're done with it, everything will still be filled in, and we have to sort of either manually change everything again, or what you can do is close RPG in a box and then open it again, and that will flush out the memory of what was placed in the tiles auto tileset window here. Unfortunately, it's not enough to just change project or unload your project and load it again. It will still remember everything you've placed. So even in projects that don't have these tiles actually in the resources on the side, I might show you in a minute just so you can see what I mean. But hopefully at some point that will be fixed, and then that won't be an issue. But just be mindful of it. If you are using the auto tile editor at the moment, it does sort of quality of life. You have to kind of clear it out. It won't just do it for you. But anyway, for now, that's actually quite handy because we can slowly build this up bit by bit. So before we go any further, let me just quickly show you what we've got. So this is the dirt tile. Very simple. It's just flat dirt. Not much to say about it. Same with grass. It's the bog standard grass texture tile you get with RPG in a box. And then what I've done is I've created a if we go back to the auto tile editor for a moment, you can see that we've got a depiction here of grass with what would be a dirt right hand bend, if you would call it that. I refer to it as a bend. So I created this tile here called dirt bend, which is exactly that. And you make it look how you want it to look. So I've just made, I just took the dirt tile and the grass tile, and I just copied them over the top of one another and just edited them together. And then I just made the edge look rough, like it's been worn. Okay. And that's going to be basically the, let's go back to the voxel editor. That's basically going to be this tile here. So if I click that, dirt bend, click OK, that goes in there like that, and it looks fine. Now, we don't need to create one for each of these sides. You can actually just reassign the same one to all four corners, like that. Okay, let me just check that is the right one, because I've got two of them, and I want to make sure I click the right one. Okay, now what you'll notice straight away is that this one is oriented correctly, but these ones are not. They're not facing the right way. To fix that, all you have to do is right-click on the relevant square. So if I right-click on this square, it will rotate the tile 90 degrees. Okay, same with this one. Rotate it twice, and this one 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and now they're facing the right way. Okay. The next thing we have is grass with a band of dirt. So if we load up dirt straight or dirt edge, this is the tile that I made to fit that. So it's predominantly grass, but with a layer of with a sort of band of dirt that's again worn. So back to the auto tile system. So that's going to be dirt edge. Now you'll notice that when you place dirt edge on this side, it also places it on this side. Okay. The interesting thing about dirt edge, not dirt edge. The interesting thing about these 4 positions here is they're shared on both grids, okay, on both 3x3 squares. So as I populate the rest of these, it will also populate these 3 as well, okay? So this will be dirt edge, this will be dirt edge, and this will be dirt edge, okay? So it's filled in the 3 edges on this one as well. And you'll notice that this one is rotated correctly, but this one's not, and this one's not. Now watch, as I rotate these to be correct, it will also rotate these to be correct for this square. So now these are correct, we're now going in a loop. And if we look in the middle here, it's created a patch. It's created like a dirt patch with a rough edge to it. Now what's missing is the corners. We've got this sort of corners of the patch that's sort of missing. And again, this is predominantly grass with a small bit of dirt. So for that, I've got this tile here, dirt corner, which is predominantly grass with just a small patch of dirt in the corner there. So that goes into this tile here. So dirt corner, dirt corner, dirt corner, dirt corner. Again, these need to be rotated. And that's what you end up with. You end up with a sort of square of dirt with a sort of, in this case, a rough edge to it. Whereas on this side, we've got the rough edge around, a rough edge of dirt going around a predominantly grass cube. So you can see in both tiles that grass, in this case, is the predominant texture, because it's predominantly grass here and it's predominantly grass here. That's kind of how the auto tiles work. This is, it depends on, you know, what tiles you're making, but in this case, grass is the predominant texture. And then the last one here is predominantly grass with 2 dirt corners opposite one another. So click this, and I've got one called dirt corners. And if you can see that all I basically did was I took this tile and I just copied the dirt corner to the opposite, and that made that tile. Now you'll notice that if we look at this tile, now that I've placed it in relation to this one, the 2 diagonal corners are the same as this one, which is raw. So we need to right click this and rotate them so they're facing the other way, because these 2 need to be opposite one another. So when we place dirt corners again, now you can see how they're opposite one another, the 2 corners. Okay, again, refer to the diagram underneath the tile to see how it should be placed. So that's the tile system made. So that's showing you how I made the individual tiles, what they're made up of, how they're laid out, and then how I've placed them into the auto tile editor. The last thing to do, because you notice the OK button is grayed out, we have to give the tile set a name. So I'm just going to call this dirt grass, or dirt path grass. You can call it whatever you want. Generally, the naming convention is the 2 types of terrain. So, for example, if it was grass and then water, you might call it water underscore grass or grass underscore water or something. But you can call it whatever you want, but just by calling it the 2 things, it just sort of tells you what the 2 things are that you're going to be painting. In this case, dirt path and grass. Click OK now that it's available, and then this will come up, confirmation, saying to access auto tiles, you can click the filter button, which we'll go over in a minute. Do you want to do that now? Basically it's saying, do you want to switch to auto tile mode and start painting with your auto tile? I'm going to say no for the moment, so I can show you where those are manually. Okay, so by default, when you load up RPG in a Box, obviously this is the layout you have. You have your tiles, you have your objects, and you have your characters. In tiles, typically the tiles are filtered by name, okay? And then you can type in a name like dirt, for example, and that filters every tile that has dirt in the name, okay? However, if we click this filter button here, at the very bottom is an auto tiles option. If you click that, it gets rid of all your tiles and shows you the auto tiles you've made. That should have been empty apart from dirt, path, grass. Obviously, I didn't clear out the other ones, so I was a bit thrown there. But yeah, so this is where you would see your auto tiles. Okay, and it's basically a toggle. So you can see your auto tiles, but you can't see your tiles, or you can see your tiles, but you can't see your auto tiles. So you have to go into a special mode, okay, in order to be able to use auto tiles. So let's go to auto tiles. Let's select our dirt, path, grass, and then if we hover our mouse over the map, we can see that currently we're going to be painting dirt. If we right click, we can switch to grass. And if we keep right clicking, we can toggle between dirt, path and grass. Okay, so let's switch to box mode over here. So I can paint why did that switch back to single? Back to box. So we'll paint a square of grass in. And now if we right click, it changes to dirt. And if we click, it automatically fills in a blob of dirt, if you will. And if we keep painting, it will create a path for you. Okay? And you can obviously make any shape path you want. Yep. And it will automatically do the edges and the sides for you, because that's the whole point of the auto tile system. And then if you decide, oh, this path's too thick, I can click. Not sure why the grass is quite as big as that, but let's try here. There you go. Just depends on where you click. So there, for example, I wanted to get rid of that cube here, but clicking here was too much because that covers up the rest of the path. You just want to go diagonally opposite, gets rid of that square. Because you got to think that what you're basically clicking, what you're creating, is the center of your 3x3 grid. So if I click here, it's going to affect this tile, 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 this tile. Yeah. So for example, if I switch to dirt and click in the center, if I'm right, it should create dirt here, 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 and here. Or no, it won't. No, it won't. It will put a dirt patch there, but it will have an edge here. Well, it will fill in the rest around it, because obviously there is dirt in proximity. But obviously, if we were to switch to grass and create a cube of grass, I'm just trying to show how it works. It's gone back to single mode again. So yeah, if we switch to dirt and we just click in isolation, it basically creates that, creates this. Okay, so it's placing all of these down when you click. But when you have dirt already in proximity, so if we keep going out, it will eventually, put other bits of dirt in, because essentially this tile is now dirt bend. Because if you click each individual tile, it will tell you in the name what it is. So you can kind of see how it's using your auto tiles to create this particular layout, if you will. So have a play around with auto tiles once you've made them to see, what effect they have as you paint them around your map. But essentially that's how to create an auto tile setup. So I wanted to show you a couple of other things to bear in mind with auto tiles that you can do. So this is a very simple example where it's literally just a texture change. It's just going from dirt texture to grass texture. But we might have an actual depth change. Now, if you remember my previous video, we were talking about surface level and why that's so important to get that right, so that because it affects the the height upon which other tiles get placed in relation to each other. This is very important with auto tiles because obviously when you're painting the tiles, you want it to automatically have the height difference based off of your settings. So I've created an example already. We just need to turn it into an auto tile. We switch back to my tiles and let's clear this out. So we start again. And let's switch to box mode again. So let's start with a brand new map. So what I've done is I've made a dirt 2, which is pretty much the same as dirt. The only difference is the surface level. So if we load up dirt, you can see the surface level, if I'm right, is flush with the dirt, whereas dirt 2 is one level above it. Okay, so it sinks down. And I've taken grass and I've made a duplicate of it that is now 2 layers thick rather than 1. So it's going to sit naturally a bit higher. And I've put the surface level, just moved it then. Surface level was at the top, on the top layer of the grass. And then what I basically did is I went and made version 2 of each of these combination tiles, the dirt bend, the dirt corner, the dirt corners, the dirt edges, where I've sunk the dirt texture in. So it looks like the path is sunk. Okay, so there's actual depth difference in these tiles, but the surface level still sits where the grass is. Okay, so that when we place it, the grass will always be level with each other. It's just the dirt that will be layered differently. So dirt corner, for example, dirt corner 2, again, the surface level sits at the top level. Okay. So if we go back to our map and let's create this tile set. So we'll call this dirt path 3D. I'll call it that. And I've spelled dirt wrong. Dirt path 3D. And we'll change this to dirt 2. This, we're not going to actually, you're not going to really see the difference from top down, but you should see the difference when we start to paint it. So this would be dirt edge 2, dirt edge 2, dirt edge 2, dirt edge 2. Rotate these so they fit correctly. That's that one done. Let's do these quickly. So this is dirt corners 2, dirt corners 2, and then this is going to be dirt bend 2, dirt bend 2, dirt bend 2, dirt bend 2, and this is going to be grass 2. Rotate these. Okay, so hopefully this is the first time I've actually done it by just changing everything manually without restarting RPG in a box. So let's just hope that this doesn't affect our previous tile set. So we'll click OK and let's switch over to tile set mode. So here's our 3D dirt path. So if we select it and we switch to grass, make sure we're on box mode. If we click and drag, it should, again, it's not done box mode properly. Undo that. There we go. If we paint, it seems fine. But now if we switch to the dirt, you see that we can't see the dirt. Whereas before we could actually see that we switched to the dirt. Now we can't. And the reason is because it's actually lower. It's sunk below the grass. But when we click, it creates a nice indented square. And as we paint, it will always create a, oops, let's do that again. It will always create a dent in relation to the grass. So you could obviously, should go without saying, this is how you do rivers and lakes and things. So you might have, I'm not going to obviously make one, but just to show you, you can see in the example game how it's kind of done, but just to show it here, you know, you would have, you load this one up, for example, not that one, this one. This might be deeper, you know, so this might be raised a bit more, and you'd have a water level, and then you'd have, you know, maybe dirt underneath that, and you'd set the surface level again to be flush with the grass, so that as you paint the water, it goes below the grass and everything like that, sinks down. So this should give you an idea of the sort of things you can do with auto tiles in regards to painting paths and rivers and lakes and seas and things like that, oceans. So if we go back to auto tiles again for a minute, switch this to dirt, we can make this path wider, etc. So, you know, you can see that it's pretty cool. So the last thing I wanted to show you is another thing that you can do with auto tiles. It's cool, but at the same time, it's not as useful as you might think it is, but I'm going to show it to you anyway because you might get some use out of it. And that's the ability to do buildings with auto tiles. Okay, so let me show you quickly how to go about doing that. So for this, I'm actually going to restart RPG in a Box so that we have the blank tile set again, just so that we can go over the diagrams again. So let me just save this. Let me exit RPG in a Box. Okay, so I've just restarted RPG in a Box. This will allow me to bring the original dialogues up, the original diagrams up again, so we can quickly talk about how you create a building in relation to these diagrams here. So I've already created it before I started this video. I was going to do it again, but I realized I may as well just use the one I created earlier. But I'll just quickly show you how I went about making this. So go back to tiles, filter by name. So let's take a look at the diagrams first, because the weird thing about buildings is they're kind of counterintuitive, because what you want to do is you want to you're going to place the floor that you want your building to have. So in my example, I've made it like I'm using the dungeon floor tile here as the floor to my building. If you had a wooden floor, for example, this is where you would place the wooden floor. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to basically have I'll show you actually. Let's just build the tile set up again. So we've got our dungeon floor that goes in there, and then what these are is this is actually the walls of your building, and then this is the outside texture. So in this case, grass. So if we select wall edge and we put wall edge all the way around, and rotate so that they fit the diagram. So we've created like we've got our central floor tile, and it's surrounded by 4 walls, okay? Missing the corners at the moment, okay? So then I've got wall corner, and that goes into all 4 corners. I'll show you the tiles in a minute if you're just interested to see them. But for now, I'll just show you how to set up buildings. So looks like that, okay? And then these will be wall corners. Again, that one needs to be rotated, wall corners. Yeah, that's fine. And then this needs to be the wall of your building going around the perimeter with grass in the center. So this needs to be grass. And then this needs to be wall bend, wall bend, wall bend, wall bend. Or at least that's what I've called the tiles. Again, you can call them whatever you want. So that's going to be what your building tile set's going to look like. Now, it doesn't look immediately obvious that you've set up a tile set for a building, because predominantly the floor is grass. So it looks, for example, if we look at this tile, it looks like we're creating a room there's just grass in the middle. But actually, this is going to be your room here. And when you paint, obviously you will paint it larger the more you paint. So just to quickly show you the tiles, obviously grass and dungeon floor, I don't need to show you those. But here's wall bend. So it's literally just grass with a 90-degree L-shaped set of walls on top. And then wall corner is just a wall that's just the corner. And then wall corners is the same but diagonally opposite one another. And then wall edge is just a single wall running along the back side like that. Okay. So if we, I'm not going to save this tile set because I made one earlier, and we'll just use the one I made earlier. So we'll cancel this, but imagine we gave it a name and we called it wall flat, let's say. Okay. So again, if I switch to grass and try and paint in box mode, if I can, yeah, it's working this time. Paint some grass down, switch to the stone dungeon floor. If I click, it creates, as you can imagine, as we saw in the in this diagram here, it's created this little square room. Okay, that's what we've created. But the more you paint, it can create your building, and you can shape it however you want. So if you wanted, the back to be a bit bigger, whatever. So cool that you can do that, but something you need to bear in mind that you might find a bit limiting. First thing I'll say is it's really only useful for making single-story buildings. The moment you want to make another floor, for example, above it, you're going to run into a problem. And that problem is these walls will only appear as long as there's grass next to them. Because the whole point of the auto tile system is that these tiles get automatically created in relation to each other as you switch between the different, in this case, dirt and grass and stone floor. So, show you what I mean. Let's say we want to create another upper floor to our building. So you'd think, okay, I'll go up 16, so I'm above the walls. I'm going to stay in stone floor mode, and I'm going to paint. But for some reason, the walls aren't appearing, only the floor. The reason is because there's no grass in relation to these tiles, because we're at a different height, we're on a different level now, we're on 16, and there's no grass on this level. Okay, what's next to these particular tiles that we've just placed is the void, is nothingness. So if we switch to our auto tiles, for example, and we switch over to grass, and we click, for example, here, maybe there's a bad example, I thought it might create some walls, but let's click here, all of a sudden it has an effect. First of all, it carved away some of our floor, but it's put the walls in around the grass, okay? So one way, for example, to kind of do this, but it's a bit fiddly, is to not paint your floor in, but to paint a level of grass in first. Oops, again, box mode. But now obviously it becomes a bit tricky now because I can't see my building. But if you can kind of switch over to stone floor mode and line it up with your building, whoops, you follow your outline of your building. I'm not going to do it 100%, but just to give you an idea. Say you did something like that. And then what you would do is you would go through and you would delete the grass. Now you've obviously got to be careful though, because this grass, for example, isn't the grass tile, it's the wall corner. And again, this is part of the problem, is these tiles are all connected because they're all part of the auto tile system. So in order to get rid of the grass, we've now got this problem of where we can't just delete the grass, because now we're getting rid of, parts of our building. For example, if I want to get rid of these grass, I'm getting rid of the walls as well, because it's not grass that I'm deleting. In this case, it's wall edge and wall bend. So as I say, your mileage may vary with the building side of things. Now, one thing that you can do, just to close out, just so I've covered everything, but I was messing around with this idea where I'm not sure where I left it. Yeah, I think this works. So basically, no, I've done that wrong. So let me just quickly go to my tiles for a second. So what I did here is I basically created another set of these where, let's lay this up in the Vox editor, where I've got transparency. So if I turn that right up and save it and go to wall corner 2, load that up, slide the transparency back, save it, load this one up, slide the transparency back, save it, load this one up, slide the transparency back, save it. So what you would do is you would create, have I done them all? Let me just check I've done them all first. No, I'm missing this one, apparently. Well, I'm not, but it needs to update its thumbnail. Let me do that. There you go. So what you do is you make a single coloured floor, in this case red, and then you have your walls around it. This would basically be your grass. Okay, so in your auto tile, you can see we've got our walls going around the outside with our grass, our red grass, if you will, with our floor, dungeon floor in the center with the walls around it. Okay, once you've set that up, what you do, and leave it as is, so don't touch transparency at all. Okay, then what you do is you paint your floor in. So switch to box mode. Why is that? Let me just check. Can we delete the transparency? Oh, hang on a minute. No, I didn't. I did the wrong thing. So go back to here and put the transparency back. So that's that color there, transparent color, add. Okay, save. What I forgot to do was the actual red itself. So we also need a flat tile of just red, and again slide the transparency up. Okay. Right, now we can see what we've been painting. Okay, so the reason why, I'll show you in a minute what this is all about, but let me just get it set up. Right, go back to our auto tiles, switch to this, switch to box, and drag a level down. Okay, switch to dirt, the dungeon floor. So now we can paint our building in. And you can see that what it's doing is it's sort of creating, I'm not 100% sure why it's creating a black void perimeter, because it should still be red, but nonetheless, it doesn't matter. And then what you'll do is you go up a level and you switch back to the red tiles and you paint them in. Oops, again, switch to box mode. But now we're in this position like we were earlier, where I can't see the building because I've got red tiles on top of it now. So this is now when you go back to all your tiles that have red in them, and you now go to, for example, red, and slide this all the way down and save it. And then when you go back to the map, now we can see our building, but the tiles are still there. They're just now transparent. So if I now go back to the auto tiles option, select it, right click and select the building floor. Now when I click, it does actually place the next floor. Yeah. So again, your mileage may vary with that. So I'm just checking why those aren't invisible, but the others are. But it doesn't matter. So it can work. There's a method of at least giving the illusion of being able to create a building with auto tiles. But you might just find that, if you want to add an extra floor to a building that you've used, for example, this one with, because this is just so much easier, you just paint some grass in. Can't be bothered to switch to box mode anymore. I'll do it this way. And then you want to switch and create a building. You lay out your building like that. And then, or however you want to lay it out. And then if you wanted to add another floor to it, you would then just switch over to tiles and do, grab a wall and do it this way, So go up 16 more, place this wall on the top, etc., etc., etc. You get the idea, like that. So hopefully that's given you enough insight into the auto tile editor, how to use it, and what it's for. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and ask on the Discord. I will put this project up on the wiki, so if you want to download it and play around with the tiles that I've created just to see how they work, feel free to do so. But with that said, that'll wrap up this video. Thanks for watching.